We're live.
That was the fastest countdown that I've ever heard. Hey, everyone, welcome. Left Right Cab. I'm Tanner Hall. I'm here with Travis Jolie, Jake Rudder. It's a debate show that isn't really a debate show. We've got politics, philosophy, pop culture, history, news of the day, all the sorts, while drinking this lovely glass of wine, different glass of wine each week. It's always Cabernet. We rotate theses, we rotate topics. At the end of the show, we do a fun little lightning round, just kind of fun, quick questions, just so you guys get to know us a little better. Follow us on YouTube, Left Right Cab, Twitch, if you're watching us on Twitch, Facebook group, Twitter, everything is Left Right Cab. If you look for episode 4, there's a weird issue thing. We have it. It just got like spliced weird. So we will post that full video of episode 4 at some point, and then we'll put up this one as well. Right? 4, not 5, right? Where's 5?
So this is episode 5.
Oh, we're on 5. Okay, it's episode 5. So yeah, episode 4. It says we only have a 10-minute episode. We found it. It's actually longer. So we'll fix that and update that. So we apologize for that. No sponsors yet. I want to say sponsors so bad. I just want to start and be like, this episode is brought to you by...
I mean, arguably, this
episode is brought to you by the Land Drop.
Yeah, I sponsor, my company sponsors my own show. I pay myself. Could do that.
Yeah. Left pocket, just going into the right.
I'll do that. Yeah, if you want to buy...
Left, right pocket.
Yeah, if you want to buy Magic cards and board games, look up Land Drop Comics and Game Center. There's my pitch. It was...
Buy us that microphone, then you're all set.
I have to buy you a microphone, yes.
Inadvertent sponsor, Castilla y Leon?
They don't know they're a sponsor.
They don't know it, but they bring us this wine for this week.
I got my mic. I'm like, it's dead in my face.
And
Go a little bit lower, yeah.
Throughout it...
There you go. That's good. That's good. That's good.
Or maybe I just need to shift. I just need to move away.
You're good both ways. You're good.
Okay.
So we are constantly trying new cabs. We have a slight variant this week. It is still a cab. It is a cab blend. I wish I could give you a nice overview of what this wine is about.
All of our viewers went to 0. As soon as you said blend, we
start
had 82
exactly.
viewers, and then it went to 0. It's not the blind. We don't want to watch.
Yeah, but unfortunately, that's how it goes.
They're like cab fans, no politics fans.
Exactly. So yeah, overview is pretty much just where it's based from, which is a certain area in Spain.
I gotta make this
the
just
Catalonians
hair look like Travis has right now.
No, it's always just elegantly disheveled hair.
Okay, elegantly disheveled.
Yeah.
Right.
So this was from the northwest region of Spain, and unfortunately, not a big description behind it. It's really just a history about the vineyard, which interesting dates back to the 13th century, which is pretty cool. So that's it. I think we're all kind of going in blind with this.
The history of this cab is what attracted me to the wine.
I've only smelled it. It smells sweet. I feel like I'm gonna like it.
It does smell sweet. So it's a Cab Mencia blend.
It's got sweetness. It's got like a sort of like a it's got a little bit of a pastriness to it too, though.
Admittedly, the scent on this, I'm not really feeling it, but I will, bottoms up.
Not sweet.
It's not sweet. I thought it was. It's kind of dry, actually.
It's kind of dry.
So it is still a cab blend. So like, with the first naming on it, if I were to completely guess, this is a like Spanish attempt at trying to make a cab and make it more palatable for sort of European
Western audiences.
Yeah.
Because the Mencia is a very dry red wine, right?
Admittedly, I'm not super familiar with Spanish wines.
We have the technology.
No. I mean, cab sauvs generally are.
This is not sweet.
Yeah.
It's dry. It's got a kind of a shallow body, though.
Mencias tend to be medium-bodied red wine grape, produces high-quality wines with floral and red fruit flavors.
Yeah, I was saying earlier it smelled really grapey, really red fruity.
It definitely has a strong grape taste to it.
It's certainly very grape.
One of the elements with it, I feel, is your typical cabs will hit that sort of blackberry currant, chocolate notes, coffee
this
as
really
well.
leans into like
This is more leaning to that like fruit
Why
kind
like
of
it?
place.
straight grape.
Yeah.
It's dry, but that's why I prefer it.
You like it? You like its simplicity a little bit? It's
Yeah.
like, it's like straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely got a softer sort of taste to it because there were
It's
like,
not
certain
acidic.
cabs.
It's not acidic.
Yeah, there were other cabs we've had that really did just taste like sand.
Or
Do we
acid.
knock off points for them naming it after Carlos Mencia?
I'm pretty positive that one of those came before the other, and he's a shitty
Carlos
comedian.
Pretty sure
Mencia
it's the
has
line.
always been.
Yeah. Much like Gandhi, there will always be a Mencia. Which is
Like
a
the
Civ,
Highlander.
it's a Civ 4 reference, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is very singularly focused flavor wise. I think it doesn't have a lot going on. I like it, but I don't love it.
I guess I'm going to be ranking it the highest then.
Probably.
Yeah.
I'm going to break my tradition of giving stuff 6s and 7s, though.
You're lower, huh?
I am lower.
Oh.
I'm probably in the 5 range.
Oh my gosh. I'm at a 7. I'm at a solid 7. It's good.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
It's very drinkable.
Yes.
For drinkability, it's like a 7 or 8 for me. For wine as like a thing that I remember, like a 5.5.
I'll probably give it a 4.5 myself.
Wow, that's low. That's
Yeah,
actually that's absurd. That's too low.
That's
No,
pretty
I'm
low.
going to give it
It's
this.
4. It's not.
And
a
I'm
4.
I'm not saying it as just someone who doesn't like the style, because I do like cabs and I do like kind of more floral sort of fruity wines. But
You're a fruity wine. This is not a 4 or 4.5.
four and a half
No way,
4.5 is what I'm giving it, mostly because it's just a
feel
very limited palate.
I feel like
And
saying
despite the fact that Mencia is trying to be a middle of the road thing, when you blend it with a cab, you're supposed to be getting a more full flavored piece. You're supposed to get a lot going on, and this just doesn't have that.
I
You
feel
were
like,
saying this is the worst one. Okay. This or the dumb crane one? The
Oh
gross-
no, that was atrocious.
Okay.
Yeah, hands down, this is much better
Okay.
than like
Longevity.
$3 Chuck longevity like garbage.
Was it
one.
Crane Lakes that you gave us before the other day?
No, I gave you longevity, which was just
No,
We didn't,
disgusting.
we didn't have an episode.
I was
We didn't.
thinking
That was
It was a
that was
secret
part
hidden
2.
one.
Yeah, that was part 2 of an episode.
So you would drink this over those ones?
Yes,
Okay, good.
I would actually. That's it.
over Tanner's sweet bullshit.
I would drink the sweet bullshit over this one.
the reserve gold, or
Yes.
the first one I did.
Yep.
I disagree. No way.
Yeah, I would totally.
It's because that still was it was a cab. It was
No way.
sweeter.
There's vanilla. Had the
Yeah.
vanilla.
So like
No
you can skirt that. This is just kind of like, hey, we want to deliver, but we don't. And like that's kind of my
So I
issue
would say
with it.
those ones were repulsive.
I'm still gonna drink this. Like, don't get me wrong.
Repulsive?
Those were repulsively sweet to me.
Oh, repulsively sweet. Okay.
And I would still take this over it. I'm like like a solid 5.5, maybe a 6 for this.
I am at 7, and so now we're doing the cost meter,
Sure.
price-o-meter.
Tanner
Oh,
leaves in.
price rules. You bought it, right?
I bought it.
Jake bought it.
Are we allowed to know where you bought it?
No.
Lame.
Have we done that before? No.
I'm just trying to fish for answers. Maybe get a little help. I think the label's fancy. Like, where's it? Yeah, you guys can see it on camera. Label's fancy. But maybe they just do that to make it seem like it's more expensive than what we really.
So a lot of European labels will do
what's
that
the
because
year?
they're tied
What's the
directly.
year?
Yeah.
2016. So centuries old. Let's go with $24.
$14.99.
You ready for this?
Are you near mic? Where's the mic? Oh, you're near mic now. Was the mic picking you up this whole time? You're getting dragged.
$8.99.
Wow. You know, the label got me.
I was trying to oversell it the whole time. It's a fine wine. I like it. I actually like it better than a couple of the wines we had, but it's definitely a cheap wine.
Wow. Is there a price on the back that I've gotten it right?
No. So I will say it's on sale for this.
Oh, so what is it kind of normal?
$14.99 was the actual start.
Boom.
Bam, you're right there. The logo got me.
So a lot of European wines will present labels which coincide with the region that they're based in. in any immediate sort of.
It's a pretty label. It's a good. It might be the best label we've
Monarch,
had so far.
It might be the best $8 label.
No. I think it's the best label we've had. Look at those labels.
Yeah.
No, honestly, I'm a minimalist fan.
On
Yeah.
them.
But see, also keep in mind, all of those are California. They're West Coast reds.
Would you say this competes label?
This has like
No.
no.
And again, I say that because you see it a lot with European wines. They're focused
Flourish.
predominantly on this sort of filigree, this flourish that's just
Sure.
very much,
Ooh la
our
la.
province is so much better, our region is so much better.
Pinky up.
Exactly.
I mean, Spanish wines are good. This is definitely a cheap one.
Yeah. That said, when it comes to marketing, I love minimalist wines. Like I love like the branding on it because you're not trying
The flavor
to
the
sell.
flavor has been lost.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm gonna go for 4.5.
That's too low. It's like a 5.56 at least.
It's not that.
I think 7 is maybe too high. I think 4.5 is way too low.
So you're saying you're in the Goldilocks zone?
6 maybe 5.56.
Yeah. No, it is
Very-
a
It's
fun,
probably.
it's a
I
fine
agree
wine.
with Jake. That's probably a 6 or 5.6 overall. But to my palate, my personal palate, I gotta give it a little more. 'Cause
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with
It's
it.
got a drinkability to it that you can't argue with.
Carlo Rossi has drinkability.
I would drink this over Carlo Rossi every day of the week. Fuck Carlo Rossi. Fuck it.
You know,
Carlo Rossi, if you're gonna sponsor our show, I love you, but your wine's fucking shit. Sorry.
First off, everyone loves Carlo Rossi sangria. Everyone.
Yeah, it's not Cabernet though.
No, it's
Cabernet.
not.
But have you had? What is the name of it?
No, it's not Cabernet.
No, what's the when you're trashing right now?
Cabernet.
Oh, that's Carlo Rossi.
Carlo Rossi
Table wine.
Reserve Stock. Have you ever had like any kind of like?
I have actually. I've
Really?
had
They
their
have a reserve
burgundy.
stock?
Yeah, the funny part about it is
it a
that all
smaller jug?
it's not actually. It's still in the like
same
the
gallon
gallon or the 3-gallon.
Those
fucking
those
things.
jugs are so good for fermenting. If you're like into fermentation, like you throw airlock in that, you could ferment whatever you want.
That said, yeah, their reserve list is predominantly their like attempts at doing various French wines. So like they have a Burgundy that's on it, which is not atrocious. It's not good.
You know what? I'm gonna give this another pass. I think it has it's got some body to it that I wasn't picking up in the first pass.
How's it going? Are we going to? You were at 5.5. Are we going 5.75?
I might go 6. I'm gonna go 6.
Solid 6. Cool.
I could be swayed to a 5, but like I'm not gonna. It's to me this isn't better than a 5.
I would say 6 is my max. I think for this. You're still at 7.
If he had told you hypothetically, if he told you it's like this was a $40 bottle or $50 bottle, would you have been like would it have changed your
my
number?
stance? No.
Okay.
He says that knowing that it's not.
No, even honestly.
Of course he's gonna say no.
So I've had expensive wines before, and I thought they tasted terrible.
As have I. So there's some 4s in the expensive wine category for sure.
And of course, there's some sommelier will sit there and tell
But
you.
you know what's weird? That does get a rate.
You like this, and it's pretty dry. That's the weird thing.
Yeah, it is dry
because it doesn't have a full body, so it's not
Yeah.
going to give you that like dry mouth taste immediately.
It creeps up on me. It's not
Sure.
like
If you drink the whole bottle, it'd be like, oh, okay.
yeah. But in terms of like the higher the price tag goes, I found the liquor that got it right is whiskey. I found the more expensive you tend to go, the more cheaper it is, the more brute it's like harsh. It's like drinking melted copper.
I both agree and disagree with that.
But,
so
like-
whiskey is notorious
For
price gouging.
Absolutely.
So whenever you see, and
Just go look at your
for the few people who are watching this, whiskey, if you see something that says like small batch or reserve, it's all bullshit.
Oh, I believe
It is marketed just for
I
opinion.
understand it's marketed, but I've had
Now that said, $7 whiskey is gasoline. You might as well just start a fucking car with it.
right.
And I've had high end or higher end whiskeys. I haven't had like
So
$100 whiskey.
I did. So it was a little gift pack thing, and I did the Johnny Walker red, black,
Scotch.
green, blue. Like
Scotch is a unique sort of
so
stuff.
you definitely tasted the smoothness as you went up in it was like almost like silk liquid like.
I mean, I will have a controversial opinion. Big surprise. I don't like Scotch.
Yeah, this is a Steven Crowder show. Changed my mind. I don't like Scotch. Changed my mind.
There you go. I've had up to blue. I haven't had anything above blue label.
Blue's the top.
Oh, then I thought they had some like reserve.
They might have blue.
Yeah.
Might have some blue reserve.
What about those
Okay.
fucking Johnny Walker cheapos that we had?
Red. There's red, and then there's
So-
black,
so
and
red-
there's the green.
Where's the
So
red?
red is.
No, hold on. Johnny
It's
Walker.
not aged. So.
Johnny Walker, Game of Thrones at Elm Street,
Oh yeah. They did make a Game of Thrones one.
and it's like fucking $12 right now.
Yeah,
Elm Street.
the white label, I guess, or the White Walker label.
So it's white.
Yeah,
It's
I like
White
that.
Walker, and it's another one too.
It's like some dragon thing.
They're
but
both.
that said, when it comes to Scotch-
but they're both red. They're both Johnny Walker red, in bottle, for $12.
In either case,
Go to Elm Street right now
this
in
is
Willimantic.
a
and
show
get
about wine,
cheap ass fucking whiskey.
not plugs to
You're a show about wine,
It's also a show about other topics
topics.
politics, and
Yes.
philosophy.
So,
and relationship advice. We're gonna be Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla,
Yeah.
and we're gonna take
Love Line.
We're taking your sex. Love line. Yeah,
We're
we're
on
taking
Love
your sex
Line.
questions now.
I used to love that fucking show when I was a kid.
I listened to it a lot.
Yeah, I used to listen to that shit. Yeah.
fair.
And what was the old woman? What was her name?
What?
She had her own show.
I was about to say Gloria Steinem, but
No,
I like
what's
that's
her
not
name?
her.
Dr. Ruth. Dr. Ruth.
Dr. Ruth, yeah.
Yeah, she'd just be like, at the end of the show, she'd be like, "This is the dildo of the week," and it would be like a vibrator.
Dildo of the week.
It'd be like a dildo or toy. She's like, "I've used this one, and I recommend." She's like 80, and she's like, "I recommend this," and the cheap is great if you're on a budget. It's like, but everyone digged it. You guys never
Which is
saw it?
fine. Honestly,
Fine, I'll
I've
stick with my
only
pervert
I've
TV.
only ever listened to it late at night while driving because it would just be on a radio station.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, shit, I have to listen to this. Like, Drew Pinsky and fucking Adam Carolla, like, or I thought it was Adam Savage.
Adam
It's
Adam
Corolla.
Corolla.
Carolla for it?
Corolla.
What are you
Oh, Savage
what?
Love is the one I'm thinking of.
Adam Savage is fucking Mythbusters. What the fuck are you talking about?
And I'm thinking Dan Savage.
So I met Dan Savage.
Thank you. Sorry.
I met Dan Savage. So I went to-
Terrible sorry. Dan Savage is who I'm thinking of. Savage Love was his talk show for it.
I
So,
went to
I'm off.
Terrible sorry.
I went to
New,
Terrible
our new
Sorry.
podcast name is Terrible Sorry.
Terrible sorry. I went to an independent film showing in New York City with Dan Savage. Well, with my girlfriend at the time, and Dan Savage was hosting it. It was like 20 people. That's all that we were like got tickets and invited, and you got to meet and take pictures with Dan Savage. I didn't really know who this guy was. My girlfriend at the time listened to him, and then I, followed up, and it's like, oh, he's actually pretty, insightful and funny.
Yep.
And this show was literally, this independent film movie was literally the most abstract artistic sex piece you could imagine. It was so, they had it was short clips, and it was just, there was one clip of literally, it was just a girl jumping on a trampoline and in a leotard, and she just started peeing, and it did that for about 30 seconds.
I was gonna say it sounds like the man
30
show.
seconds, and then it stopped. And then there was it cut to a cartoon of like these centaurs raping Rick Santorum.
What
And-
is happening right now?
It was like
Perfect.
It was like the weirdest film. And then all the people that made the films were in the audience too.
Yeah.
And they're like, "What do you think of my work?" And I was like,
I didn't
There was
get,
some
I didn't
funny
get the
ones.
plastic bag.
There was some super funny ones. Like they made like what's the behind the music VH1 movies?
Yeah.
But for rock bands, but they made it of the porn industry, and like the best fluffer, and it was a guy that was like a better fluffer than all the women. And it was actually kind of funny. I don't know the name of the film, but that's my story. So what's your topic?
Yeah. So much like being the best fluffer in the porn industry, so the thesis today is going off of the concept of work. And as I mentioned a few episodes ago, we've talked about Malcolm Gladwell as a favorite author of mine. I think it was on the author philosophical piece because it was Camus and Malcolm Gladwell. And there's a lot of topics about finding value in work and how in the US especially, we have a very puritanical view of work, that time is money and work ethic is something that you should always be prized or should always pursue, something you always need to value. But there's always the millennial dilemma, I guess, of finding true value in work and what you do. and whether or not having a job that you are personally satisfied in is the end result, versus finding a job which allows you to find satisfaction and value elsewhere.
Okay.
So it's work functions in one of two spheres, typically. You find value in it, or it allows you to facilitate, finding value elsewhere. And while in the US, as I said, we have this very capitalistic view where you should always prioritize the, make as much money as you can, your time is money, you need to go and be the most profitable being in whatever industry you're in. That isn't going to say everyone needs to aspire to be a doctor, but everyone should aspire to make the most amount of money to equate to the safest quality of life. So, first question to present to you guys is, circling back to that 2-point tier of, do we believe that man's purpose, or any individual's purpose in finding a career, is to find value in that career, or to just, make that soul-crushing job to then go and make and find value elsewhere? Before we go into that, I do want to kind of discuss kind of the anti-capitalist view about it.
I can't wait.
Yeah. So, while as the capitalist view would say, take the soul-crushing job because, money can't buy you happiness, but it can buy you any misery you want. Like, you in turn could then, find value elsewhere, find happiness elsewhere. Whereas the anti-capitalist view is that your work should be the one providing you value. You should be happy to wake up in the morning and be like, you know what? I'm going to make that bread and I'm going to get that bread. If someone, wanted to be a baker. Someone had a very bad gluten allergy,
So,
probably.
I guess my question would be, why can't that mentality exist in a capitalistic framework? Because
Artists.
so, but my point is, you can. Okay, go ahead. Finish your point
So,
as I compose mine. Thoughts.
now, the post-capitalist view of it is that you shouldn't be working to generate your own internal value. You shouldn't be just solely working for money. You should find value in contributing to society. You should find value in bettering others. Commonly, it is the artist's approach, as I mentioned, for it. You have, as an artist, everyone has that sort of vision of the starving artist, the penniless individual for it. But is that itself not valuable? Do we need art, or should we have art, which we don't value it commonly. We don't constantly pay street performers a lot of money. Oftentimes you see people panhandling for that. So the anti-capitalist view is saying that we should not prioritize an individual making the most amount of money. You'd prioritize an individual contributing the most to society for it. Hedge fund managers on Wall Street shouldn't be making $400,000 a year when they literally contribute nothing to society.
That's the anti-capitalist view.
Yes.
Okay.
Whereas we should be paying more to
Whereas
teachers, we should be paying more to artists, so on. People who enrich the quality of life.
But okay, I don't know if this is going to warp into a capitalist versus anti-capitalist.
Well, I mean, with the concept
argument.
of work itself, it very likely will.
Okay,
We've scared Jake away.
we scheduled. That's all right. We'll take the reins for this for now. Okay. Your statement of I'm gonna get up, I'm motivated, I'm gonna get that bread. I'm confused why that can't exist why can't I currently am in a capitalist society. I wake up thinking that no problem. Why is that an issue?
So it's not. There really isn't a setup of, is this the right path? Is this the wrong one? Is this better or not? I mean, actually better, I think there is the debate to be had there. However, the setup is, do you kind of take the Homer Simpson approach? Do you go to a job which is soul crushing and you really don't find happiness in it? However, it allows you to, have financial stability within this capitalist system to then find happiness elsewhere. That the initial question is not so much the capitalist versus anti-capitalist view on it. It's more of is the purpose of work to find value within the work or to allow work to facilitate value elsewhere?
I think there are elements that the structure of work, I think you need work. I think that, and I'm going off of just basically the amount of like I told you, you mentioned who you like before. I mentioned I like Jordan Peterson a lot, and he has talked about this in some of his books and a lot of his interviews, that there's meaning in doing tasks, and there's meaning in accomplishing things. There's meaning of finding a goal. Now, whether that goal
you find value in success.
Yes, that humans that innately drive for this, and it's not always driven by financial or capital. That's not necessarily always the motivator. You're right. People, would I sleep better? Okay, probably make this a perfect example. I own my own business, and there are definitely stressful times because it put a strain on my relationship financially. However, for the first 2.5, 3 years, I didn't take home a paycheck. It was tight and it was tough and it was hard, but I went to bed and woke up feeling happier. More like just satisfied
that there was value to be satisfied.
That I had built something that started with just 2 glass display cases to what Travis has seen it to 3, but to infinitely more of a tangible real store over the last 4 years. It's just the grind is the reward, even though the bank account doesn't reflect the reward or the hard work. So there's that. I also think there's an aspect of work that comes with. It's gonna kill me to say this. Well, no, it doesn't have to be government mandated. Now that I think about it, it can be company mandated. Okay, good. So,
sure.
Is there a way that we government can get out of this?
Can the free market decide this?
Yes.
Yes.
So a lot of European countries do the 4 10-hour work days.
Sure.
And they give their citizens, or they give their employees that third day to be with family, to pursue their hobbies, to get their chores done, or whatever the other things they have to do in their life. 2 days isn't always enough. And I think that should be a system that should be 100% adopted in America. So I've read a bunch of studies about it, and it showed that the employees sleep better, they have more morale, they're more loyal to the company they're working for. And there's higher productivity when they're at work, when working the 10-hour shifts over the 5 8-hour shifts.
So there's
so I think there's parameters that
the question
by the companies that can establish a happier end result to work.
So there's a difference
for me though.
So before the element of productivity is an interesting one too, because it kind of speaks back to that puritanical, time is money. You must optimize your productivity in a fixed period for what's there.
Now, I don't disagree with that time. I mean, I don't disagree that time is money.
No. That is a point. It's any problem can be solved with time or money, and oftentimes some combination of both. However, in this situation, productivity itself, when you're sort of occupying a space that
you sounded great just then.
Perfect. So, no. When you occupy this sort of 4 10-hour days, I would think that that's probably a more limited amount of productivity on the grand scheme of it. Because, there are countless studies saying, no, we'll keep the 5 business days, but you're going to work 6 hours. And that the 30-hour work week is the more optimal route. So would 3 10-hour days be even more efficient? Like, is it... Because when you repurpose that 40-hour work week into just 4 10-hour days, it would be interesting to see how much more productive workers are than if they are just in a...
Would you need more workers? If I'm working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I got to cover Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Like,
do you?
In my industry, yes.
If you worked 3 10-hour days,
yes. Like in the.
But that's the thing is, your Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday could be someone else's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So like that's the whole point of rotating schedules for it. And flexible staffing. It's not that your entire workforce is taking, these 3 days and then everyone's going to go just kind of, fly kites for the next 4. It's you have a rotating staggered shift of people.
Okay.
Now that said, I fully support, break time for everyone. Everyone gets Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, and then, we'll flex that other day.
You want my gig? So I also work at a casino, and our gig is a 30-minute break every hour. Paid. You work 1 hour, take a 30-minute break. Work another hour, take a 30-minute break. Paid. It's great. It's fantastic.
There you go.
And so we're there for 8 hours, but we're only working 6. Basically, two of those hours are essentially 2 of those hours are on breaks.
And even with that,
We're paid for all 8.
Oftentimes, the sort of incremental staggered breaks throughout the workday has shown that you're not having people suffer from fatigue, and especially if you're working in a casino, say if you're a security guard, if you're a table dealer, and you fuck up, you could have just thrown away hundreds of thousands of dollars on a table, or you're a security guard monitoring cameras, and you're like, oh, you're a little bit fatigued. And you then go and, you don't see someone count cards. You don't see someone do some sleight of hand because, Penn Jillette's just sitting there ripping off casinos.
Sure.
Oh. It's not Penn Jillette. It'd be Teller all day.
He would just pull out money from his mouth.
Teller is a sleight of hand man. Penn Jillette is the lad.
He's the juggler.
The misdirection.
The buffoon.
No. He's the buffoon, and Teller is
the brains. Right?
Is the brains. Yeah. He's the peak in the brain.
But it's a very physical parallel.
To count. We are trained to spot card counting and moves inside a hand. We were used to really work our peripheral vision and monitor our entire. It's called game protection, and just protect your game. And if you don't last long in the industry. They get rid of you real quick, and so.
That sounds like game protection. Honestly, sounds like something that GameStop was trying to go and sling to people throughout most of the 90s.
But I would highly recommend anyone that is looking for work to look into the casino gaming industry. For example, we had what's called a toke rate. The tip, it's how much you tip. But there was a night that we got tipped. It worked out being the dealers made $88 an hour. That was your pay. Hello, cheers. $88 an hour, and I mean it's rare. That was and that was 60 the next night because we had some professional golfers in there, and they were just gambling and tipping great. But on average, we're making $35 an hour to play a game all day with breaks all day, and there's a cafeteria, and they feed you, and you get full health, full dental, vision, 401k. So there's companies that, even on the grindiest of days, I just did not want to deal cards or whatever. I still realize that my job is infinitely not as hard as other people's.
But
and
do you find
than others?
All of those elements kind of tie into that sort of capitalistic approach to it? Do you wake up certain, maybe not every day, but most days, and say, can't wait to feel that, touch of velvet?
It is felt, yeah.
And just sling cards all day and just inhale cigar smoke, provided you're working in a...
Ours happens to be non-smoking, but there are a lot of places that do smoke.
Yeah. So, or do you find more value in the fact that, this gives me full dental, this gives me full vision, it allows me to have a more comfortable life outside of this place?
Yes, and those elements make me more careful to not call out as much, make sure I don't mess up because I want to protect all those perks. But I just didn't. But I think there's a thing of I didn't start there. I wasn't just 16 and got to a killer job. I had to grind. I had to push shopping carts.
So you had to work that dead end job sort of. All jobs are dead end.
I hate to sound so conservative, but it builds character. It did. It built a background. It made me appreciate what others do, every day. That and sometimes they don't have a choice. That's all they can do at that moment.
It's a question of
a
hard day's work.
Right? I went from the casino when I left Mohegan Sun. I went and stocked beer coolers at package stores.
Can I disagree though?
I was grinding. I was physically. I wasn't used to it. I'm like, wow, I'm used to getting paid a ton of money to do nothing. I'm getting paid almost nothing to do a lot, and it was a big wake up call.
My disagreement though is that you said it's a conservative view to like empathize with
working class
people. I don't think that's the case. I think for me it's the opposite.
Case.
For me it's the opposite way around. Like,
I meant like
the hard days work.
Sure. Yeah. Yes, there's like that going to it. But for me it's like I know that I went through that. I went through the time when I made no money doing a lot of things, and now I make less money I make more money doing less things. And like that sort of like dichotomy is like, I understand how our economy works now because of it, and it's very shocking to me to like accept the fact that like as you move up the totem pole, you do less things and you make more money. The phrase
is promoted to obscurity.
Exactly. You move to a place where you stop mattering, but you keep making more money. And that's a very real thing in our capitalist society.
Yeah.
It's a postmodern capitalist conception, you know?
So with that position, I myself benefited from it from my prior job. I pretty much, on a 40-hour work week, I spent probably 30 of it playing Hearthstone on my phone, which is a computer game, or a app, whatever you want to call it now.
Not Magic, but it's close.
But like that's the thing is I got paid probably about like 40,000, and what my actual job was interacting with people who were stuck in elevators. So like really think about how much I cared about those people, and that's it. I made my mistake.
I believe we're back.
I'm gonna wait for it to appear on my screen to make sure that it
check 1, 2.
My laptop is dead, so
on my side it looks good.
Yeah, we apologize if this is live. We apologize for our technical difficulties. Jake, it's not Jake's fault.
It's Travis' shit fucking internet.
It's Travis.
Mind you, I then in turn got
he did get
a better internet.
He got better internet. He did. He got better.
And we're live.
We are live.
Cool.
I'm gonna wave. I'm gonna see if it comes up.
Do you have an elegantly disheveled hair flip?
I haven't waved. Oh, there's my wave. Okay, we're good.
Cool.
We're officially live.
There's the hair flip. Excellent.
I was gonna make a point, and then all this stuff happened.
And so
you were talking about less money.
Oh yeah, so elevators and the work that I was doing.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, was I didn't find value in it. I stayed there because I enjoyed the people I worked with. Though I think the most disheartening element to that job was, for lack of better phrase, being told the only way I would get a promotion is if I uprooted my entire life and moved to the South. And fun fact,
cost of living, you'd be
very much a Yankee.
You'd be a rich man.
I would, and like it was. Friends of mine made the same decision, and they did decide to go to Florida, and they're all back now. So. You
buy them $400,000 houses here down there for like $125. It's gross.
It's disgusting. But in the same token, though, you have to live in Florida. So
we have a mutual friend. I will not say their name on air. That works a very nice, lucrative job, and makes like between $100,000 and $150,000 a year. I don't know the exact number. And all they do, literally, it's a government job, government contract job, and all he openly said to me, all that he does is, for a good portion of the year, is sit at a desk and read Magic the Gathering articles and surf Reddit all day. Now, when they get a contract in, it's literally 2 weeks nonstop, pound the work nonstop because they get the contract. But when that's done, it goes back to like 6 months of nothing. He has to clock in. He has to just sit there. But he goes, literally nothing happens. But he's paid $100, and his wife does the same thing, like the exact same job, almost the same job. And they get paid the same. They make tons of money. Politics, philosophy. How dare you? All these technical issues.
Seriously.
But there's that. He changed jobs. He left, or maybe it's the same job and it's just relocated. I don't know. I can't remember the exact. fist.
Sorry.
But is that work? Like, is that? I don't know if he openly said. I don't think he felt fulfilled, even with $130,000 a year salary. It didn't satisfy him. So
there are a lot of sociologists who have done, and economic anthropologists who have done work on what is the overall burden. When do you start getting diminishing returns for salary versus happiness? Mm-hmm. And the fun number, or like the sort of magic number that I've seen a couple times, is anywhere between $70,000 and $80,000 a year. Anything up to that, it is exponentially. When you make 40,000 a year and then make 50, 60, 70, you're constantly gaining that sort of happiness. And don't get me wrong, 70 to 80, 80 to 90, you're still happier, but it invites other problems as well and other complications. So the magic number for that burden to happiness is around 70. So I'm not surprised.
Do you think
when he's miserable with $150,000 a year?
Do you think that?
But crying in a Lambo is a lot better than crying in a Honda Civic.
You're not wrong there. I'll give you that. Do you think that the happiness would alter or change? Okay, I'm gonna make this a great example. Before I worked at the casino, when I worked at the casinos and I was making a ton of money, I was blowing through it. I would just get my money, I would spend it on things, I'd go out and eat almost every night, and just because I had the disposable income of doing that, but I just didn't save well, I didn't budget well, I was just like, my credit wasn't fantastic, and I was stressed. But I'm like, I'm making so much money, and I'm doing almost nothing, playing a game all night, and then I met Ashley, my current girlfriend, and she was the opposite of me. She was fiscally responsible. She saved. She had money in the bank. She budgeted. She did this.
We know where this libertarianism came from.
So she did all these things, and then she taught me to do those things, or basically do these things or I won't date you. But we'll say taught. And so, but taught me these tricks to budget and to this, and here's how you can save on this, and here's how penny pinch and all this stuff. And all of a sudden, I had money. All of a sudden, my bank account had a comma in it. And that was unusual. And so it's a good feeling. So, and then it went into, it has, this and that. And I was able to open up a business. I was open to get a new car. And all of a sudden it's like, wow, I had money. I was able to pay all these extra bills. Whereas normally if I freaked out, if my car broke down, which it did recently, the $800 for that I would have been losing my mind, hitting up my parents. And now it's like, I have the money in my bank. Good. And it happened because I was taught by her more fiscal responsibility. But I had the same amount of money. I made the same amount of money, but I just was wiser with it, and it made me happier. So do you think if someone's making $60,000 a year, spending it frugally or spending it wildly or spending it frugally, do you think that if the amount, I guess my question should actually be, someone making $60,000 a year spending it correctly and $100,000 a year blowing it, I think the guy making $100,000 will be less happy. I think he'll be more stressed. I think he'll be like I was.
I think the problem with that question itself is spending it correctly. Money is one of those few things that, like, fun fact, when you're dead, you can't take it with you.
Sure. The term, I guess, wisely, not on frivolous things.
They were more fiscally responsible.
Knowing you have bills, but instead you go out to the casino and gamble it away. Like things like that. Like that's bad.
It is fiscally irresponsible to, have rent or a mortgage payment coming up, and then you say, you know what, I'm going to go to the casino to try to double this money, and they lose all of it, and then have to take out a second mortgage on their house, and it ends terribly. So, like, those things happen, and those are fiscally irresponsible. In the same token, do I think it's correct? Do I think it's wrong? I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's not my life, it's not my house, I don't really care. But in the same token, you bring up an interesting point that jokingly was addressed.
Your happiness might just have to be with
your came
financial up, how you allocate those finances, and you can sleep easier at night knowing you've done it properly, or you don't have to wake up in stress if an emergency happens.
So the interesting kind of piece behind what you said was that there was an external factor that taught you how to be more fiscally responsible. Do you think that education...
I don't think I would have done it on my own if it wasn't for her. 100%. Okay. I think I just would have been that... I definitely wouldn't have had a shop. It just wouldn't have existed.
So do you think that education regardless of the curriculum, is beneficial to making those decisions. So do you think, like, could we truly have all of these, austere, fiscally responsible individuals if, we taught accounting in middle school, or not middle school, but like high school? Do you think that the real crux of the issue is that we just are giving these people, like just anyone, high income jobs, but we're not teaching people how to appropriately use it within our existing economic system?
I think the tools are out. We live in the internet age. I think the tools are out there for you to get the information on that regardless. Like I could.
There is a staggering amount of, like, the percentage I think is like 70, like upwards of 70% of professional basketball players that when they stop,
they go broke.
Yeah.
Oh, they're just living in cars. Yeah, it's crazy.
So
they just don't. You hire a dude. You hire one dude to say, hey, manage my money, make it last. Shaq did it. Shaq's the only one who did do it right.
I mean, LeBron, Kobe did as well. I mean, hasn't retired, but
they're doing it fine because they have their own schools and charities and things. They're doing a lot of good things. But like Shaq was like, I want to get into the business side, and now he owns like all the Five Guys. He owns basically Papa John's,
which is garbage pizza.
Right, but they're rebranding it, and it's doing good. And so, from a business standpoint, Jay-Z did the same thing. He's like, I just don't want to be a rapper. I'm going to be a billionaire mogul in the producing industry, clothing industry, drinks, and everything. He's into everything. He has money. Like, what is it? It's a flavored water. I can't remember what it's called, but whatever. He has his hands in everything. So it's like that's, there are sound decisions. I think that if the government said we're going to do a clean slate, everyone is we're going to start everyone's bank account at $0, and we're going to deposit $100,000 into every single person's bank account. I think the Mark Cubans will end up being the Mark Cubans again, and I think the me's 5 years ago will be the me's 5 years ago. I think they will just know how to spend that $100,000 better. Maybe I'm crazy.
Nothing to do with like education or the resources that put them in that position to become more educated for it.
I think they have to have the self-motivation to want the education to begin with.
But even you yourself said that if you were left to your own devices, you wouldn't have.
You're right.
So an external factor.
No, but I made the conscious change because I found something important enough to me, which was my partner. That my partner,
Jake has been awfully quiet this episode. You having a stroke?
No.
The motivating factor to me to
my answer is
my partner and my love for her and wanting to see her happy and knowing
so you're equating your partner to your intrinsic value of a person? No way, no question about that shit.
I don't.
You mean you
think that was
disagree
the
with
point.
that premise?
Yes.
No, I just felt that my partner's happiness is important to me.
Yes.
And she wants a fiscally sound partner.
Sure. What I'm trying to say is, like, you try to equate that to, like, this sort of, like, intrinsic value of a person, too, though.
Are you reading Dixie Wolf's comments in the chat?
No.
But the audio channels keep cutting in and out, and it's playing on the left side now.
I don't know.
Or are you panning each mic to... I don't know. We'll figure it out. Sorry about the technical. We'll figure it out Monday.
Anywho, what I was trying to say is, like, you can't say that, like, you believe this because of your partner, and then also this is an intrinsic value. Like, you can't be a person value and also your partner value. Like, it's one or the other, you know?
What do you mean?
So if you say, right, that this is something that belongs to a person, they believe this, they make this happen in their life, or that this is because you wanted to do this because of your partner, it's like those are two different values you're talking about right now.
Well, no, because she ended up showing me how I was looking at things wrong, and I learned I was doing things the wrong way. So it kind of changed my moral value system.
Sure. Okay.
No different than I identified as being on the left for most of my college years until I started reading Penn Jillette or Ron Paul talk, and then that swayed me to change my view.
Okay.
It was just I felt evidence, reason, logic, and she presented evidence, reason, logic as to why those lifestyle choices and physical choices were more sound and would result in a happier life. And so
I think that's still kind of circling back to my point on it, though, is that, I don't think do I think that every single person has the infinite capability to make financially sound decisions?
No.
I would say Statistically, probably.
The potential?
The potential.
Sure. Yeah, potential's in every single human being. Maybe it's too optimistic of me.
To do what? Sorry.
To make sound decisions
with their money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like it is infinite potential of people. It's one of, I think generally, I think most people are on board with.
All right.
So I don't think it's a matter of, a deterministic element of, I made these decisions because I want to do X, Y, and Z, so I'm going to just follow through on it. So to your point of, will the Mark Cubans still be the Mark Cubans? I think if they are not taxed by resources, or that they are not held back by the lack thereof of resources, and they are presented with an opportunity for education, much like, again, you were not taxed by resources. However, you were not presented with the education on how to make sound financial decisions until you were, and then you did. So I think the element to it is that, like, I don't think that the Mark Cubans will follow through. Yeah, there's always going to be, in any capitalistic system, the uber wealthy, and then just the generally wealthy into.
Follow-up question. Should that?
I actually really like Mark Cuban. So like,
I enjoy Mark Cuban too.
Good dude.
On that note, the education part. Should this be something that government or public schools puts in and should be, taxpayer funded to be taught, or should it be societally pushed, like culturally, that we as do this? Because
can I not have both?
You could.
Okay, I would argue and say that society will drive the regulation will influence society, or alternatively, society will influence the government for it.
Possibly. So I'm just saying, like in the I just know in Asian cultures they're far more, when it comes to fiscal.
There is a god of money in China. So like.
But when it just comes to how they raise their children, teach their children, from things I've read and people I've known and talked about these things with, that they're far more tight and stingent on these things.
And commonly, it's also most Asian cultures. Now I'm the one stumbling over my words. Jeez.
Good dank wine.
Yeah. At the risk of a sweeping generalization from me, it's a collectivist society. You have these people, or you have a push to be more financially responsible because the intention is this money will in turn benefit everyone. Everyone, maybe not the entire country or the entire world, but locally.
I think your immediate family is.
Well, that is primarily what I mean by everyone on it. I don't mean like I'm going to give my money is going to make you happy. It does due to economic standards.
You give me $20 right now, I'll feel really happy.
Yeah. But I think that when it comes down to it, education would be the driving piece to it. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to, do I think the state should require it or society should push it forward? I do think it's both, because I don't think that the two exist separate from one another. Society influences politics in the same way that politics influences society. When you normalize something legislatively, society will structure itself around it. However, it is that same society which elects those people. So what we normalize and view as, America is a conservative country. Globally speaking, like, we are far more conservative. Even our liberals are conservative on a global scale. So we have done that because of our, historical background, how we've sort of normalized pieces of cultural norms, I guess.
Right.
But throughout it, we are just that conservative society in turn influences the conservative legislation, and it'll move forward.
You've been quiet over there, Jake.
What?
Yeah, he's been
so you've been
waving us to shut up too.
Oh, you've been waving us to shut. I'm sorry, I have not really noticed the waves. I'm sorry. I apologize. We're wrapping it up. We're wrapping up for our bathroom breaks.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna take a break, guys. We'll come back with a second segment, and then we'll do our lightning round questions with you guys in this episode. Palacio de Arganza.
And again, if you have any questions, want to add them to the lightning round, put them in the chat. Feel free.
Yes,
do what you will.
Chat. We'll try to answer them as they pop up. I'm willing to cut Travis off to answer these questions.
Excuse me, Mr. Tanner. I am speaking.
Break time?
Break time. We'll be back.
I'm good.
Excellent. Welcome back to Palacio de Arganza. I feel like we're going to be butchering that title pretty frequently. I apologize for all Spanish-speaking people and everyone from whatever region this is from. So usually the second half of the show kind of ties into kind of pop culture, kind of news, everyday events, current affairs sort of things. So I think the major news, which is happening now, so if you're watching this, thanks for missing out on this. But tonight was the Biden and Trump town halls.
Was it? Did I miss that, really?
Yes, I'm sorry that you're here and not watching that. Typically, each of those involve wonderful drinking games, such as will Trump try to speak over a moderator?
Yep.
Will Biden say, "Come on, man"?
Yep.
And other wonderful line items. But so that was tonight. Now, little element about the town halls. It was supposed to be a town hall style debate, if that can exist, between Trump and Biden, where they would just field kind of questions from anyone in this previously screened and selected crowd of people.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was
Biden still didn't answer about court packing. I'm on Reason.com. And
sure, and
trying to catch
so
up, see what the high
I've already kind of voiced my position on court packing, and I will restate it as well. But it's only been kind of galvanized further. But with these town hall style debates, they were established in this sort of separate but equal element, because after Donald Trump was diagnosed with COVID, the Biden campaign and I think the Commission for Debates, or whatever the overseeing body is that structures these.
They wanted it separate.
No, they wanted a virtual. They wanted a virtual one.
Separate digital.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Trump was like, "No, I don't want to be on a virtual one. I'm gonna go in public.
If I can't insult him to his face, I don't want to do it.
If I can't talk over him and my mic can't be cut, then yeah." And Biden was like, "I don't want to be next to this dude who's contagious and who has a documented instance of being, infected with COVID." Now, right, wrong, and different. Sure, I think it's NBC and ABC, or maybe MSNBC and ABC, hosted the two separate town halls. So same structure in two different.
ABC for the one tonight.
They both are going on tonight.
Oh.
It's ABC's for one, and another network is doing another. But with that sort of decision to sort of separate this out, you really sort of just get like an echo chamber element to it. And while I do appreciate town halls because you don't have, previously written questions from moderators, there is a degree of an element of randomness, I guess is the best way to kind of phrase that.
Mm-hmm.
But all of the, speakers' questions would, be vetted previously. No one's going to go up there and say, "Talk to me about QAnon." To Biden, actually, because, he drinks the blood of babies and gauges and things. But there was an interesting piece to it, and we've seen Donald Trump flounder in prior town halls, and I fully expect him to flounder tonight as well. I'm assuming he is. Maybe that's just.
I'm eager to watch this now. I'm gonna put on my phone.
Yeah, so it's a unique situation, but in the same token, when you look at polling from Nate Silver, I don't really try to look too much at Gallup or Quinnipiac, but
are you talking about like in terms of Biden's position in the race right now?
Yes.
Can we trust polls? Because all the polls said Hillary's got this in the bag.
One did not.
So the outlier, we trust the outliers?
The outlier's been right pretty consistently.
Who's that guy? Who's that professor? Isn't there a professor dude that's like predicted every single one correctly for the past?
Nate Silver.
Is that him? Oh, okay.
I don't think he's a professor. He's a statistician.
Maybe stats.
And so he runs. I think it's 350 .org or something. I'm sorry. 538. Thank you.
Jake has relocated. We don't know where he went.
No. So yeah, he runs 538, and he was right. He was calling Donald Trump winning, and everyone was like, "Nate Silver, you jumped the shark. You're an idiot. You're just being a contrarian."
Whoopsies.
And he was right.
And now he's on the Biden train.
Yeah. Well, he is very much a mathematician, and he's like, "This is what's here. This is what our internal data is showing." He's like, "There's always going to be some variance." The Supreme Court nomination, I think, could have been a sort of power move to get, I mean, arguably one of the worst instances of political strategy, in my opinion, is the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett. And I say that because if Trump really wanted to drive up the vote of conservatives, he would say, yeah, we'll push it off on it. And if you want her to be on the Supreme Court, you will turn out and vote for me. He's getting it.
You should go be a Republican strategist.
So I know them, or I know a handful of them, and
just go in. Like, that's a sound point. Just go collect your paycheck, man.
And thus it goes back to finding value in work.
Are you willing to sell your soul and abandon your morals to put in the party that you don't necessarily align with?
So I've sold.
What would the number have to be? Just for funsies' sake, what would the number have to be for them to say, we're going to write you a check and you tell us the number to come work for a campaign to get help
to get them to win?
To
and I would only get that money if they won? Or would I get that money regardless?
You put in the work, you do in the time.
I could go in there and tell people to, like, internal pollings are telling us that you believe in Pizzagate. Like, I could do that and be like, fucking, you can give me like a reasonable salary and I'll do that. But if the
try hard, not just if the troll.
Yeah. Well, but if the contingency was they needed to get elected for me to get that money.
And so, that makes sense. You got to work now. You got to actually.
Now I have to. Yeah. Now I need to compromise my morals. What few of them there are.
What's your number? It would require long nights and not being home and not being able to shop at my lovely store.
I mean, I love traveling, so.
Oh, there you go. So
I have no qualms with that element.
Now, I also then asked, what would it be to get to work for the blue side? Would it be less?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, even without looking at numbers for it, it would be less. And now that said, I still kind of am a big supporter of Elizabeth Warren. I don't
know why. I mean,
her bankruptcy work was phenomenal. Like, I think it turned into a meme when she's like, I have a policy to, like, here are all of the documented reasons why I'm the best candidate on this fucking stage. And
but then they like ask her like, what's your plan? And she just didn't even have the plan. It was basically Bernie's plan, and she was just riding that train. Is there any credibility to her when people saying she's just riding the Bernie train, or she's just hoping to be a Bernie VP pick?
I mean, minus the fact that in Bernie's first run, it was flouted that it was going to be Tulsi Gabbard as his VP pick. Yeah.
I enjoy Tulsi Gabbard, but I enjoy looking at Tulsi Gabbard. I also actually like her policies too, so most of her policies. But I think a lot of moderates and independents felt that Elizabeth Warren might have been like a watered down Hillary Clinton, like 2.0. Let's try another woman. No one's really excited about her.
So one of the elements that kind of shot my hopes of Elizabeth Warren down was back in the 2016 electoral cycle. There was this huge scandal that was trying to, split the progressive left, that allegedly Bernie Sanders had told Elizabeth Warren that Americans are not ready for a female president. You shouldn't run. Despite the fact that leading up to the 2016 election, before Bernie Sanders announced his candidacy, he was telling Elizabeth Warren to run against Hillary Clinton. And I think between those two options, I would have fucking volunteered for Elizabeth Warren's campaign over Hillary Clinton's. But when asked about that discussion of, did Bernie tell you that America wasn't ready for a woman president, you shouldn't run? And it's very documented that Bernie Sanders was like, I was advocating for you before I even entered into this race. It was a complete, like, she could have just snuffed it. She threw him right under the bus.
Like, yeah, that happened.
No, she didn't. She didn't deny it. She didn't agree that it happened. She was just like, oh, let's, skirt, like, we're going to dance around this.
Why not dispel it? Why not just right there
exactly
bury it?
Yes. Which would have been, she could have saved her campaign if she had done that.
So it's all.
But what she had done. Is the
term then party politics? Because.
No, what she had done.
Because it's the same
she
party.
was an opportunist.
Okay.
And that to me was one of the most disheartening pieces for Elizabeth Warren's campaign. Was when presented with someone who is truly an ideological compatriot, no one else on that stage shares as strong progressive values as Bernie Sanders.
Yes, he was the
he was the the quote unquote bird of a feather, and she elected to, in her inaction, kind of kowtow to the establishment, and that to me is when I was just like, you've demonstrated to me that you are an opportunist on this. And it was like devastating for me and at that point I was like, well, now we have this giant fracture in the progressive left. We're going to see the entire Democratic establishment either get behind.
Meanwhile, I'm sitting here Palpatine, like, or Mr. Burns.
Excellent. But throughout the primary season, we saw the Democratic establishment, including Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar, who were both polling and had more delegates than Joe Biden, step out of the race and then support him. And I feel one of the major issues with this electoral cycle is Biden is really co-opting Hillary's sort of "it's my time" statement. And I'm more than positive the discussions in, closed door Democratic operatives saying, Pete, you're in your 40s, you can run again. Amy Klobuchar, you can run again. Kamala Harris, you can run again. Biden's almost 80. He ain't running again. He will be a one-term president. And unless, we get...
by nature.
Yes.
Nah, okay. I think those from on my side would say I hope he's a no-term president. He did 8 terms with the word president in his title. It's fine.
Do you think Mike Pence feels that way?
Sure. I don't care how Mike Pence feels. I'm just saying I'm not. By the way, I watched the Pence Kamala, but I think Pence mopped the floor with her. Her smug laughing and snickering, it turns viewers off. It just was like, ew. It was like gross. It was gross watching her.
So watching that debate.
And then I felt like she wanted to. This is where I got a little confused. It's like, okay, if you want to be the progressive left and represent the progressive left, which in that group means you're going to represent the modern day feminists and women are equal to men in all shapes of matter and form, then you can't be offended if Mike Pence is tough on you. Like, you got to follow by the same rules as if you were a man, and not don't play the. Like, he was the commentators after the thing was just oh, he just mansplained or
he did when it came to talking about legal precedent and actually being an attorney. One of them is a member of the Bar Association. Mm-hmm. One of them has been an attorney.
One of them is terribly corrupt at that. But
I mean, no.
Come on, you're gonna on the left side defend the
no, not at all, because
incredibly wrongful prosecutions and jailings of blacks.
I will tell you right now, in the state of California, compliments of Republican Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Governor.
Indeed. He signed massive deals with many private prison systems where they state, you will keep us at fixed occupancy. Otherwise, you will be in breach of our contract and we're going to get you for a whole bunch of fucking money. Now, that said, do I think, A, those things should never have been established? Yes. Do I think that we have massive criminal justice reform that needs to be taking place because we are disproportionately jailing people of color? And it's just these are knowns. Could
private prisons will versus public? I will. That's a whole other show, guys. But
But with the private prison system in California alone, that state massively imprisons their own population for nonviolent crimes. And could Kamala Harris,
California's great. As everyone is fleeing.
I'm one of the few people who, having lived in the Northwest, and everyone's like, "Oh, just move to Cali." I fucking hate California.
Nah,
like, I love the wine.
Miss me with that.
I love the wine. Love the weed. Food's pretty good too. But like, there's a lot of problems. And again, do I think, is Gavin Newsom doing things about it? Yes. Are they progressively fixing terrible years under Republican governors? Yes. So the real question is, when Kamala Harris was in a position of power to prosecute cases, could she have done more? Yes. 100% yes. Now, that said, as a DA, you are limited in what you can and cannot sort of do. Her office had full oversight of what cases that they would take.
So,
when directed by a governor of, you will prosecute these, because if not, we will have a massive budgetary, shortfall. These are elements that influence decisions, which means one of two things. Either A, Kamala Harris is an opportunist, or B, she will compromise her morals for sort of the bottom line. Do I want that in a VP? Or potentially president in the event the nature path takes place.
There's just so many better qualities I would want.
Sure, but we play the hand we're dealt, not the one we want.
After a while, after getting dealt 7 deuce every hand, you want to get up from the table and maybe play a different game. Like we're gonna play blackjack with the libertarians.
I've played Magic for so long that I've taken so many mana screws. I've been flooded, and I still keep playing that game.
That's fair. So, I don't know. My original point was I just felt she was rude, snide, snarky, laughed. It just came off as condescending, whereas Pence came off, I'm not going to lie, when Pence came off presidential. I kind of, when I was watching, I was like, wow, I kind of wish our actual president spoke like him. And
yes.
It felt like, it almost kind of felt like he was ready for the job.
So there was,
as where that came. I'm not a crazy fan of. I'm not a fan of the evangelical Pence. I'm a fan of the principled Pence in terms of constitution and role of government. I'm a fan of that. But when it brings in the revolution, I saw his whole thing about evolution and the not teaching creationism in school. I saw that video on the Senate of him on the Senate floor. Like I'm not a fan of that stuff.
I don't remember
policy-wise stuff.
I don't remember if it was Adam Sewer or David Frum with The Atlantic, but they had said that this debate, so the vice presidential debate, was truly an interview for 2024, and that these two people will very likely be running on the ticket later on. And I agree. And it did offer some sense of normalcy. We saw a debate between two principled, structure-based people, sort of members of the old guard of the political world, actually debate each other.
Yeah.
Do I think Mike Pence really put the screws to Kamala Harris? Yeah. He did a pretty good job pressing her rather than she pressed. She didn't really press him. She had ample opportunity to twist the knife, kind of, really put his feet on, but never did.
Yeah.
Now that said, there is a whole element of.
You feeling all right? No. Jake's back, folks. Join us. He took a breather.
There is an element of Kamala Harris dealing with other systemic issues as well. As both a woman, as a person of color. Remember, when Hillary Clinton was forceful against Trump, she was perceived as shrewd and shrill.
But she was forceful on Pence. I feel she was aggressive Pence, but Pence is kind of
she was not forceful on Pence.
Okay, so
she missed the spike on nearly all of them.
Not in her debate, in her attitude, not in her words, in her body language, in her tone. I thought she was just condescending to him and spoke down to him. And there were moments where she was talking and she made a point or an accusation, and all Mike Pence did, it's recorded. They replayed it. He just goes, I'd like a moment to respond to that, please. Or when you get a chance. Like, it was like a polite, like, and not like Trump would talk over. It was like, I'd like a chance to respond. And she just goes, I'm talking. Mr. Vice President, I'm talking now. It's my turn. It's my time. It's like, he just asked, I'd like a chance to respond. Like,
So
relax. Don't go to juggler over him not even countering you yet. Like,
there are many scenes when,
like, if it wasn't Mike Pence in that chair and it was someone like Ted Cruz would have been infinitely harder on her. And
I would have actually very much would have liked to see Ted Cruz debate Kamala Harris, because both of them are attorneys.
Yeah. So, like, I think it would have been a better debate, but I think he would have been harder and quicker and wittier but
he is also the Zodiac killer. So, like,
but if Mike Pence, who is kind of a softie, is kind of riling you up.
He portrays. So Mike Pence, one of the few things that I don't think I'll ever stand
you need
by.
To get out of the game if he's riling you up.
Have you seen any of Mike Pence as the radio talk show host of being like the evangelical fucking extremist that he is? Because he is. So Mike Pence is radicalism packaged well.
Fair. I don't think he's been implementing it in policy. I don't think because
he's not in a position to influence policy, with the exception of breaking a tie in the Senate, which is already stacked in support of conservatives anyways. That said, Mitch McConnell has put forward 5 bills in fucking 6 years when he's been the Senate Majority Leader. Like, I'm glad that this administration and conservatives en masse are so bad at autocracy, because that's honestly their only saving grace. The ineptitude of the Trump administration at being a despot is the only reason we haven't gotten there yet. So many people were saying, like, oh, Trump's going to become the monarch in chief and he's going to just do all these things. And I'm just like, this guy is so fucking lazy and so incompetent.
I got into a semi-bar fight. I had to throw someone out of a bar, literally someone we knew. But I was skinnier and lighter than me, so I got away with it. But it was in California. It was in Los Angeles, of all the fucking places in the world. And they were just like, Trump's going to they happen to be gay, and Trump's going to put us in concentration camps, and the reason why he's doing it, it's my fault. Me and Ashley's fault, because we voted Libertarian. We voted third party, and that's the reason why Trump won.
You tell that to people who voted for Jill Stein.
He basically called us not an ally to him or our friends. And it's like, it was like, no, we're done here. Goodbye. You're done. And it was crazy.
I will generally always say, on the record, if you are debating about voting Libertarian, do so, because that means that the Green Party and Democrats are even lower than conservatism is for you.
Fair.
So the way I see it is that is a vote against Trump. By all means, go for it.
Go for it.
I have issues with people who are like, I'm going to vote for the Green Party, and I'm like, you're a fucking garbage human being. I agree with all of these policy points, but you're an idiot.
Will you? Jake had some alone time, but do you want to join us for the lightning round questions?
Sure.
Excellent. So I think it's a good moment, right?
Oh, also court packing. One last thing I got to it.
It never ends.
Yes. And I say that solely because Lindsey Graham, Amy Coney Barrett, who was
Can we court pack with conservatives?
With anyone. Doesn't matter.
Okay. You're fine with the concept of it, regardless if it's left or right?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. I thought you were just all like...
Stack a Democratic majority. No, I don't give a shit about that. Lindsey Graham, in the opening statement for Amy Coney Barrett's confirmation hearings, in the event that you've been living under a rock, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is dead, and a conservative judge was put forward by Donald Trump within 45 days of the election. That point aside, the American Bar Association...
We're 19 days now. 19 days.
Yeah. The American Bar Association had a majority opinion and a dissenting opinion on her qualifications. The majority opinion was very qualified. The dissenting was qualified. I don't like what I've read about her positions. I don't agree with. That said, she has the standards to be in line with other Supreme Court justices. So does she have the chops for it? Yes. Did Gorsuch? Yeah. Did Kavanaugh? No. But, so it goes. So when so many people are coming through like, oh, court packing is a partisan hack job, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, okay, Mitch McConnell in his opening statement said, you will be confirmed because Republicans have a majority on this committee.
And this is a game.
And this is a game. And we're not here to convince anyone. You're going to get confirmed. Democrats are going to vote no. All Republicans are going to say yes. This is a show.
It's just the show.
And Lindsey Graham said the quiet part out loud. And I'm glad he did, because when I say I have no qualms with court packing, anyone, stack the fucking court. You have, and if you're interested on more of my rants about it, last week's episode. But the illusion that the Supreme Court is a nonpartisan agency is false. They are nominated by partisan elected presidents. They're voted upon by partisan congressional parties. It's all going to be partisan. So this illusion that they somehow lose their prior.
Those are the external things that got them into the position that happen to be partisan. They themselves may be strict to code, which is.
So why would you then nominate someone who is counter to your best interest? The interest of sane government?
Ideally.
Find me a conservative or Democrat who genuinely believes in rule of law and not party over politics.
Ron Paul.
Wrong.
I disagree.
Hardly.
Rand Paul?
Rand Paul is the
Not
biggest
Rand.
crony. Yeah, okay.
I didn't say Rand, I said Ron.
Okay. How's he still doing in elected office, by the way?
Well, he's retired, but I'm just saying he was an example of
Sure.
of somebody who stuck with
Current.
current.
Because, like, yeah, I'm sure fucking Lincoln was fantastic.
I guess I would say Tulsi Gabbard and Dan Crenshaw because they were willing to join do the unity ticket.
Okay, I'll take it.
That's just me. But it's not a long list. You're right. It's not a long list. I can only come up with two.
One of those is Democrats. So.
Both of them are also members of the House of Representatives.
Sure.
Neither of them are a senator.
Easy.
Where that matters.
Yeah, sure.
So on that down note, let's go to the lightning round.
Lightning round. What was your favorite toy growing up? Like what you just were either inseparable with it or you just have a fond memory with it?
I had a Starscream Transformer that I played the fuck out of, for sure.
Transformers. I also never got into Legos. Is that bad?
Legos is bad.
Legos were dope, and you're fucking
I never
retarded.
owned a Lego. I never owned a single Lego.
But did you just acquire them?
No, I never had them. I was only a child.
Did you manifest destiny some Legos?
Did you eminent domain your
You manifest destiny some Legos, exactly.
And even when they had them and they're like, let's play Legos, I'd be like, that's fucking dumb. Like, no.
But the world is your sandbox. You could go and.
I'd make a tower and the same block, and then.
So what you're telling me is you lack imagination.
I can't.
He's a libertarian. What do you expect?
I can't conceptualize. I can't put it into tangible form. I can put it in written form. I can write, but I can't build. I can't. It's just wasn't my strength.
Like a tannerable farm.
I just couldn't. What was your favorite one?
So I don't know if it counts as a toy, but as a small child, we had an above ground pool.
And that's where you just spent a lot of
The one that I drove a car through?
Yes. So
wow, he broke your favorite toy.
I mean, this was years later, but growing up, when we moved to the house in Bolton, we had an above ground pool, and I would spend all my fucking time in it, even when it wasn't cleaned, and right when we open it over winter, because of course we never used a cover on it, so it's just dead leaves and God knows what in it. Still go swimming in it. But yes, to Jake's point, when we tore it down, we drove a mid '90s Honda an Escort.
No. I think it was a Jetta. I think it was a VW Jetta into it. A black
with the shitty fucking.
Yeah. That was thieves. It was spray painted. It was black on black on black on black because we spray painted the shit out of it, and we just drove it right into the fucking pool.
Excellent.
I mean, my dad said we need to take this down.
He's like, drive this car into this pool.
And I think he was assuming we would I don't know, take axes or chainsaws to it. No, we drove a fucking car through it.
We did.
So my immediate first thought was I had toys and I really liked collecting. I obviously Magic the Gathering cards came later, but I collected gems and rocks and different
shiny things.
I collected coins. I collected Pogs. collected basketball cards,
Fucking
things like
slam 'em.
yeah, basketball cards, things like that. But as far as like actual individual toys, the one that kind of stands out to me, I was young. I was elementary school, and I was obsessed with Power Rangers. And I had the Green Ranger's dagger, the flute dagger that he would summon the dragon out of the Godzilla looking thing out of the water. And
The Dragon Sword?
Dragon Sword, is that what it's called? And then you hit the button and it would do the dun, 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 dun. It would play the songs. And it was like,
So-
I remember just playing with my friends. Like, I had the red lights, I read the Red Ranger's sword. We had all the weapons, and we would just hit each other with it. I remember that. I played with them a lot. I don't know if that's my favorite. It's just the one that is burned in my head that I'm using a lot.
If memory serves, I think that dragon flute, or like the dagger flute that the Green Ranger had, is actually, the sound made with it is like a muted trumpet or a muted sax. It's like such a bizarre thing that is not a flute, which I always found funny. I think it's a muted trumpet. Please, watchers, streamers, fact check me on that.
Send me one of those replica toys again so I can relive my childhood. All right, your dream car. Was it the car that you drove to the pool? You have one car right now. You wake up in the morning. It's in your front parking driveway. What's your dream car?
Probably like, I don't know, like a Tesla.
Did you see Elon Musk's new price for the Tesla?
No.
He came out with the Tesla Model S's new price is $69,420, and his reason is, I'm literally a child. He literally said. Like,
he is the meme.
His Twitter image was like hentai. It's like he gives zero fucks.
I would say
His child's name. Is
I would say
the
Elon Musk tweets Model S price would be $69,420 because he's a child.
I would say Lotus.
We don't deserve Elon Musk, guys.
My car is like a Lotus Exige, Lotus Elise. Either of those are good.
Do you want to have tap 3 mana on the license plate?
There's
Lotus Elise.
Lotus Elise or Lotus Exige, both are good. They're both pretty cheap for sports cars. They have Toyota engines, and they're just pretty good. Pretty good. Not that expensive. Pretty good.
I don't know much about cars, so I didn't really have an answer really for this. I will say that I was like milliseconds.
Also, hold on.
Really, my real answer is a Nissan Z Fairlady or a Datsun Z Fairlady. So Nissan bought out the Datsun Z. Datsun Z Fairlady was the original.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And holy shit, that was a good car.
Ashley just bought a really nice new Mini Coupe. Like, looks like James Bond's got blue with stripes with red on the top. It's nice. So I don't have a dream car because I don't know anything about cars. I wouldn't know what I have if I had it. But I was like milliseconds away as a kid winning a McLaren F1. Is that what it's called?
I know that there was like the SLR McLaren.
Back in the mid '90s. McDonald's had a campaign.
The Monopoly ones.
No, it was Disney. They joined with Disney, and you had to answer Disney trivia questions, and you peeled it off the Cokes and the fries. And I was a kid, and I obsessed over Disney, and I watched all the Disney films. And so I peeled off the fries, and I read the question, but not kind of knowing what this was, the whole scratch thing. I just scratched the whole ticket, and just to see the whole thing. Not just you're supposed to scratch one answer, not all four, and scratch one answer if you got it right. And that happened to be a ticket that was a McLaren. That was like, and my parents were livid. They're like, Tanner, you are not supposed to scratch the whole ticket. Like,
so is this why you're a libertarian right now?
Because my freedom to do what I want.
Yes.
I think I was 5, 6 maybe. Unaware. I was like, oh, scratch, scratch. Because I saw my dad scratching one, so I'm like, oh, I'll scratch the whole thing. And it was a McLaren, and it was bad. So,
do you know what that question was? Like the Disney trivia question that was on it?
Something with the uncle and the kids, the ducks. What
Scrooge McDuck.
And
No.
Is it Huey?
Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
But it was something about that. I can't remember exactly. It involved that.
Does he swim in a vault full of gold
I think it was what color isn't worn by one of their shirts. I think it's red, yellow, blue. They wear or those Alvin and Chipmunks?
No, Alvin and Chipmunks has green, I think.
Oh yeah, Theodore's green. Theodore's the fat one. He's the fat
yes.
Simon, Theodore.
Yeah, Simon's blue. Elvin, I think, is red.
But
yeah.
but I think Huey, Dewey, and Louie wear yellow, red, and blue, and I think maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong, but I think it was what color is not one of their shirts or something, and I just whatever.
All right, questions.
Most drunk moment in your life?
No.
Right this very second.
Definitely not.
I have mine.
I have mine as well, and mine does not end well. So.
Mine was I was in my
22nd birthday, I think. It was me and Steve in Hartford, and we invented a game called Uno Dos Passe, where we had a bottle of tequila and a bottle of margarita mix. So we passed Uno and Dos. We drank a tequila and a margarita mix. So we passed the combination of those two around the circle.
Little shots of margaritas.
Yep. For we did a whole handle with like 5 of us around the circle.
I'm sure you're feeling it.
Yeah, it was not good. Not good.
And they find out there was tequila in the Marg mix.
I got it. What did twist?
So we got around the ring with that, and then we walked around the bar scene in Hartford, and I don't remember much of that. Yes, I don't remember it very much, but one point I came to a bar, and I came up to the receptionist, the guy, and he was like, and I grabbed his pedestal he was standing at, and I shook it a little bit, and I was like, okay, I'm still standing, I'm still here. He was like, he can't come in. And I was like, and I said, fair enough. I walked away. Then I went to our motel in downtown Hartford, and I threw up.
You got some bed spins?
Yep, got some bed spins. And yeah, not good. I would never recommend that much drunk. Drunk is not good. Don't get drunk.
I got drunk at a party. I went to a party. It was just up the road from my house, and I just kind of lost track of how many shots the host was feeding me, and before I was just gone. And this is actually a very bad story because I did drive home, and I was very, very drunk. But my house was literally like 22 seconds away. It was like on the same road, and it's just down to the left. And so I did that. So don't do that. Don't drink and drive. But I walk out into her parking lot, and I just puke all there on the ground in front of her house. And me and my drunken self, I'm going to try and simulate it here on camera. You can't see my feet because my feet are blocked. But I go, I'll clean it up. And I take my foot, my shoe, and in my head, I'm thinking I'm doing it like a squeegee when you go to at the gas station, you clean your car, and it cleans it perfectly. I'm thinking it's just swiping it
all
to
over
the side.
But you're kicking it.
I'm just kicking it, and I'm just and it doesn't really. And anything, I spread it out more and made it worse. And I just go, that's good. And then that's about right. I get into the truck. I had to step up, puke again, and so it's on me and it's on half the car. I close the door. I get home. I puke again in my parking lot in my driveway, and then I pass out. Literally, my bed was low to the ground, and I dropped to my knees, and I just fell flat onto my bed, and I fell asleep on my knees, bent.
Flat.
Like, yeah, I was on the floor, and I slept like that for like 9 hours. Like, didn't move.
Your parents were just like, we're so disappointed in you.
You woke up and be like, oh no.
It was bad. And then I dragged the puke up the steps. It was bad. It was really bad. Oof. And it wasn't like I just lost track of how much I drank. And then she was just like, so there's a lot of puke in my driveway. She messaged me the next day. I was like, yeah, I thought I cleaned it up. And she's like, no.
You did not.
You did not clean it up.
You did the exact opposite of cleaning this up.
I visually remember in my brain, even to this day, saying like, yeah, it's squeegeeing to the side. Nope, it was bad. That's my most drunk I've ever been. You're good.
All right, Travis.
Are you gonna try and guess it?
No.
Oh.
No.
I'm sure it's bad though.
So, for those who don't know, I like to drink. I like beer.
I like beers. I like beers. I like beer.
So the school that I started my collegiate career at is
art school?
No, not really, but it had one giant party each year, and it was called the Rail. What the Rail is the seniors will set up a table in the sort of
Common area?
common hall of the dining hall.
Yep.
There's a giant table with a question mark on it. And you would go up, you would give them $10 and your phone number. They would text you at a random point in one night coming up, and it would be an address. What the rail is a series of house parties where each house has a theme of alcohol. So there is a gin house, there is a whiskey house, rum,
Dope.
beer, wine.
That sounds so
all the entire
dope.
major issue with it. So that's what the $10 and the phone number gets you.
But you don't know which one you're gonna.
You don't know which one you get to,
Oh.
and you don't get the address of the next house until all the booze is finished in that house.
That sounds so much fun.
It is a blast.
And I would love to just be in that gin house. Oh!
It is. I didn't like gin at the time, so I was like, no, bring me to the wine house, bring me to fucking beer, and whiskey and rum. I fielded, but gin, I was like, yeah, this is Christmas, which is disappointing because I fucking love gin now. But yeah, so we're going through these things and moving from house to house, and then there is a secret house at the end, which is done for all of the people who organized
It's
it.
all absinthe. It's all. It's
No,
secret
no,
house.
it is mezcal. But so it's mezcal, which if you haven't had, it's like a smoky tequila, and that is the last house. It was there just for the people who organized the rail. So kind of like a, hey, thanks for letting all of these kids trash your house. Come to this house and trash this one. So I only got that address because my sort of Greek big brother was involved in it, and he's like, come here afterwards, so you'll come. I was belligerent. I could barely walk. I was sort of browning out in between stuff. I think I make it back to my dorm. I do not. I fell asleep in the school fountain in the center of campus. But the main issue behind it is that the rail is always scheduled the night before Parents' Weekend starts. So I actually lost a scholarship because campus security found me, and they're like, you are lucky it was us and not a parent.
Oh, parent.
Yep. To be like, we're sending our kids to this school and there's kids passed out in the fountains. So I was found at 5 a.m. by them, and there was administrative hearings afterwards, and I lost my scholarship for that. So that's why the beginning of the story of the school I started my collegiate career at was for that.
That's crazy.
I was not expelled. I wasn't anything else, but it was kind of one of those, you're a poor kid, you can't afford to come here. So now you definitely can.
That sucks.
Yeah, drunkest I've ever been.
All right, last one. I'll if we need to wrap it up, I'll save the last question for next week. My phone just shut off, and I gotta turn it back on. Do you have a favorite paradox?
The Epicurean trilemma.
That's the intelligent life one. Why?
Yes, so for me,
Paradox is if there's intelligent life, why have they not contacted us?
Either they're all dead,
or they don't want to see anything to us. Yeah, exactly.
I like the Epicurean trilemma, which is commonly quoted by Hume.
Sure.
Which is if God is all powerful and all loving, why is there evil?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Tanner.
Mine, especially when it's worded very well by the Doctor in Doctor Who. It's called the Bootstrap Paradox.
What a wonderful children's show.
A wonderful children's show. It's so...
For kids.
It is so for kids. That's right, Jack.
So let me try and find it so I can word it properly, because he'll do it.
I'm glad Jake and I are we know these fucking clockwork.
I do know, but he does it so well, and I just want to get. Give me 1 sec. So.
But synopsis.
Okay, so synopsis is. Oh, I found it. I think I found it. Perfect. So this is the Doctor explaining the Bootstrap Paradox. So there's this man. He has a time machine. Up and down he goes, zip, 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 getting into scraps. Another thing he has a passion for is the works for Ludwig van Beethoven. And one day he thinks, what's the point of having a time machine if you don't get to meet your heroes? So he goes off to the 18th century Germany, but he can't find Beethoven anywhere. No one's heard of him. Not even his family has had any idea who. Not even his family have any idea who the time traveler is talking about. Beethoven literally doesn't exist. This didn't happen, by the way, or this is the doctor. He's saying this didn't happen. Anyway, I've met Beethoven. Nice chap. This is called the bootstrap paradox. Google it. The time traveler panics. He can't bear the thought of a world without the music of Beethoven. Luckily, he brought all of his Beethoven sheet music for Ludwig to sign. So he copies out all the concertos and all the symphonies, and he gets them published. He becomes Beethoven, and history continues with barely a feather ruffled. But my question is, who put those notes and phrases together? Who really composed Beethoven's Fifth?
So that is the chicken and the egg paradox is pretty much what that is.
Beethoven.
The Beethoven and the egg one.
Yes.
The answer is Beethoven, though.
Yeah. I mean, Fry once was his own grandfather.
He did do the nasty and the pasty.
Did do the nasty in the pasty.
I think that's a good one to end on. Did you already answer your... Oh, you said Fermi's. What was yours?
The Epicurean trilemma.
What was that one again?
It's effectively disproving God.
Ah, okay.
But it's if God is all-loving and
We do every week here.
as we do.
God doesn't exist.
And,
You're living.
left, right, atheism.
You're living in life. Left, right, atheism. Good night.
Jake came back strong at the end.
Dude.
All right, guys, that's the end of our show. Hope you guys had a fun time. Join us. Listen to our last shows. They're up on YouTube and Twitch, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, all the social media stuff. We'll be back next week. New cab, new topics, new lightning round questions. A lot of fun stuff.
Yeah. In the coming weeks, before the end of the month, we will be having a non-political,
A spooky one? A spooky boy one.
A spooky boy,
spooky Halloween themed supernatural debate.
I'm excited, actually.
I am too.
Are ghosts real, and what do you think ghosts are?
Sweet
we're
metaphysical,
Bigfoot.
stuff.
We're gonna do all this crazy stuff, all the supernatural stuff.
Also, shout out to the International Museum of Cryptozoology in
Yep.
Portland.
Definitely.
Thank you guys in general.
Travis Pedrola.
I'm Jake Rutter. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Yes.
Good night.